That old north wind howling high up in the timber, the only choir I remember. I was riding on a line, one lone star hanging over the horizon, like the one that led the wise.
Well, welcome to the Stick Horse Memory Show. We're sure glad you folks are with us today. Stick Horse Memories, we want to take you back into the time when you were a kid. You know, they weren't perfect times, but there were a lot of good times. And you may say, well, that's an unusual name for a group. Well, Sister here came up with that idea, thought it was a great idea, because when we were riding stick horses and we couldn't afford that, we rode Mom's broom.
Yes, we did.
But we had a great time of it, and as a result, let's take you back for an hour or so in your stick horse memory days. This is my sister Skip, and I'm Ken, and we want you to enjoy the next hour. Now, this is our holiday show, and it's important that I tell you something. We don't believe in leaving out the word Christ in Christmas, but we use the word holiday because we're going to do 3 shows for you today in one. We're going to do Thanksgiving, we're going to do Christmas, and we're going to do New Year's all in one show. So with that said, sis, you got a song for us?
I do.
All right, we're ready. She's going to open with a great song here, and so this group is ready to hear you.
Good.
All right.
I bet this will take you back in your memory, and I think it'll take most of us back too.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. And over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. The horse knows the way to carry the sleigh through the white and drifting snow. Over the river and through the woods, my how the wind does blow. It dips your nose and bites your toes as out on the road we go. Over the river and through the woods, just watch old Dobbin go. He throws his head and kicks his feet and makes us want to go. Over the river, through the woods, my how the wind does blow. It nips your toes and bites your nose as out on the road we go. Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. The horse knows the way to carry the sleigh through the white and drifting snow. Over the river and through the woods, my how the wind does blow. It nips your nose and bites your toes as out on the road we go. Out on the road we go. Out on the road we go.
Well, if that doesn't get us in the mood for Thanksgiving, nothing will.
I know. Can't you feel the jostle?
That's right. Great job, sister.
Thank you.
Well, let's just go into that second one, and I'll just even do the first piece with you supporting me on Bless This House.
I can do that.
I know you can. You know, with that said, when we think about Thanksgiving, we think about families.
Yeah.
But us kids didn't think about families then
No,
first.
of course not. No.
What do we think about? Food.
I always thought about dessert.
Dessert. Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to think about dessert. We're going to think about food. We're going to think about the family. And then we're going to think about how blessed we all are.
I bet we're blessed.
So we're ready. Let's
All
open
right.
on that one, sis.
All right. I think y'all will remember this one too. This is one of our favorites. Bless this house, oh Lord, we pray. Make it safe by night and day. Bless these walls so firm and stout, keeping want and trouble out. Bless the roof and chimneys tall. Let thy peace ride over all. Bless us all.
You know, that tall man back there is my uncle. The short one is also. And the girl in the braids is my cousin. You know, there's aunts everywhere. I believe there were 7 total when I counted them. You know, most of you ladies are always back there in the kitchen fixing those good meals. You know, there were boys everywhere, from old to new. The oldest was only 16, but that youngest was 2. You know, us guys, we had to be out there on the porch telling a few jokes and laughing and probably telling a few lies along the way. There were brothers and cousins and granddaddy too, nieces and nephews, just to mention a few. Kids of all sizes, counting the babies so small. But you know what? You grandmothers are the best of all. The whole family is there, together once more. The joy in that house, from the front to the back door. You know, folks, it only comes once a year with special joy we show. You know, the family together, or, you know, it's Thanksgiving, you know.
Bless these windows shining bright, letting in God's heavenly light. Bless the hearth, a blazing there with smoke, ascending like a prayer. Bless the folks who dwell within. Keep them pure and free from sin. Bless us all that we may be fit, O Lord, to dwell with thee. Bless us all that one day we may dwell, O Lord, with thee.
You know, we've talked about food, we've talked about families, and they're so important during this Thanksgiving season. But let's not ever forget how blessed we are, no matter what our situation is. And yes, during this last few months, we've really been challenged. But we have so many blessings. In Psalms 155, it says, "Let everything that has breath praise the Lord." Praise the Lord. And so in this little piece called Thanksgiving, we're going to do a little play on words. And it's Thanksgiving and it's Thanks-living.
Lately I took some time to turn toward yesterday and take a look. Memories so clear, like they're written on the pages of a book. Like the heaven-reaching mountains with their snow caps, a silhouette of time. And that little cabin where the river bends, I can hear the distant sound of prairie wind. So I guess it's just an omen, 'cause I think I got Wyoming on my mind.
Thanksgiving is over. We ate all the food. Man, wasn't that turkey and dressing good. We saw all the children and the grandchildren too. We laughed and we cried. Trust me, it's true. Yeah, we watched that ball game, didn't we? But our team didn't win. Maybe better luck next year. Oh, after Thanksgiving, we all went to church and we worshiped the Lord. And we prayed with each other and we welcomed His Word. And now it's all over and we're on our way back home. Thinking about that special big day coming. We can't wait till Christmas is here. But there's something inside me that's just not right. It will not let go. I'm sure I missed something. Oh yes, I think I know. You know, giving thanks to the Lord is just not a one-day happening. It's about praising Him each and every step of the way. From the cradle to the grave. Created worship. Now that's where it is. It's a great season when life is true. And it's done by living each day that God gives you.
In a field of virgin snow, the only tracks you saw were the ones you left yourself. I think I got Wyoming on my mind.
Well, it's about Christmas time. I want to take you back 100 years. And you might say, well, why would you want to do that? Because I want you to see how Christmas has changed. But it hasn't changed. As we said at the beginning of our show, we weren't going to leave out Christmas. In no way would we do that. But Christmas has changed a lot in this last 100 years. Let's think about 100 years ago what it might mean. Well, the true meaning was still there. It hasn't changed. It's the birth of the Christ child. And we're celebrating that at this time. But we had those family things that we did. But they were real simple, believe me. Well, coming from the European countries is my understanding. We had the Christmas tree. Well, what did we use for a Christmas tree back then? Well, not much different than the Christmas tree of today, except we didn't go and buy a $100 tree. We went out in the wooded areas, the woodland, and we cut our own tree. No, we didn't have the Walmart lights either. We had whatever we could put together. Go back another 60 years, and I can remember my grandparents, 60 and 70 years ago, saving the aluminum foil from gum wrappers and such, and they would use that to make little decorations. String popcorn, you remember doing that as a kid? Sure you do. You strung popcorn. What else did you do? Well, if you had pine trees, you went out there and you got you some pine cones. You might have even painted them if you had a little extra paint around. Well, were there gifts? Well, they were few and far between. But they were handmade in many cases. They were handmade to the point that someone, if real special, would make you a wooden whistle. Boy, you thought you were the luckiest guy in the world. Or for you young ladies, they would make you a corn husk doll, and that was so special. And maybe for you ladies, someone would make embroidered figures on pillowcases and on things they called doilies and such. But you know, that true meaning came from this, the Holy Bible. And that's our history of that. And that was always read, and the significance of it was always expressed and taught to the children in each and every generation. And that brings us up through your generation. And yes, it's changed the material things, but from the spiritual side, it's just the same as it ever was. And yes, we still have gifts, but they're more store-bought. And today, a boy might want a fixed blade knife as an example for Christmas. Maybe he's in middle school at that age, and then it progresses up. But in closing, what about us adults as we get older? Now, the material things, they have some meaning, but not the significance of what the Christmas is all about. And it's in remembrance of the birth of our Lord and Savior. Christmas, 100 years ago, up to the present, there's been a lot of change, but the true meaning will never change.
Jolly old Saint Nicholas, lean your ear this way. Won't you tell us so what I'm gonna say? Christmas Eve is coming soon. Now you dear old man, whisper what you'll bring to me. Tell me if you can. When the clock is striking 12 and I'm fast asleep, down the chimney broad and black, with your pack you'll creep. All the stockings you will find hanging in a row. Mine will be the shortest one, you'll be sure to know. Johnny wants a pair of spurs, Susie wants a sled, Nellie wants a picture book, yellow, blue, and red. Now I think I'll leave to you what to bring the rest. So choose for me, dear Santa Claus, you will know the best.
Well, it is getting toward Christmas.
It is.
And that was a nice lead-in for those thoughts.
I think so.
Well, you
I
did a
think
great
so.
job, sister.
Thank you.
You got another one for us?
Oh, I bet I do.
I'll bet you do too, and this could get a little humorous.
Well, it could.
Yes, it could.
It could, because it's kind of different. I can't.
It's
I
different,
think
all
of
right.
What Mom would have
But-
done if
Oh, mother.
if we had made this request.
Yes,
but
but
you know,
that's all right. You know, we can enjoy Christmas in a lot of different ways, and some of it has to be with a little humor.
Of
There is no
course.
doubt about that.
of course.
So
Let me find it.
we are ready.
Now, are you ready? You ask me if I'm ready, but I want to know if you're ready.
Well, I know you're ready, sister.
I'm always ready.
Well, yeah, but you're putting that clothespin up there on that guitar. Back when I was at home, we had clothespins and we put up the clothes on the line.
Yeah, but do you remember number one? This isn't a clothespin. It's a capo.
Oh, it's not?
No. It
Well, I
may
thought
look
it was
like
a
one to
clothespin.
you, but that shows how many times you actually hung clothes on.
Hey, now, Mom let me hang up clothes.
Cowboy, Mom let you hang up the pillowcases. You hung up the pillowcases. I hung up the rest with Mom.
Well, you just thought you were so special.
Well, I was.
But
I
my
mean-
pillowcases looked darn good.
Oh, they did, and they smelled good.
Yes.
So-
But I got them hung up until that one year you weren't there, and I hung up everything. Now,
I missed that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Where was I?
I don't know, but I got everything hung up, but it was a little twisted and things, but the neighbors said they enjoyed it.
I bet they did. Poor Mom.
Oh, yeah, Mom. Well,
Mom, yeah.
She
Yeah.
she did have a different look on her face.
Yes, she did, I'm sure.
Okay,
Now, I want you to listen to this song.
oh yeah, how's that?
Well, it's about what I want for Christmas.
Oh, it is.
And I want you to hear it real well.
Oh, I'm going to listen very, very carefully, and I'm going to tell old Santa.
Good. Please do.
Okay.
Please do. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Only a hippopotamus will do. I don't want a doll, no dinky tinker toy. I want a hippopotamus to play with and enjoy. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. I don't think Santa Claus will mind it. He won't have to use our dirty chimney flue. He'll bring him through the front door, that's the easy thing to do. I can see him now on Christmas morning, creeping down the stairs. Oh, what a surprise when they open their eyes to see a hippo hero standing there. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Only hippopotamus will do. No crocodiles, no rhinoceroses. I only like hippopotamuses, and hippopotamuses like me too.
Boy, I tell you what, I came on a state trooper the other day, and he was telling me about a situation he got into or he heard about, and I thought I'd share it with you. It's a Christmas situation.
Wow, what happened?
Well, I guess the way the story goes that he pulled over this old boy and had the back seat full of Christmas presents, and the policeman pulled him over and went through the routine, your driver's license, sir, and all this. And he said, well, you got to have that rear view mirror where you can use it. He said, well, I'm sorry, officer. I was going to my family. There's Christmas presents. It doesn't make any difference. You got to be able to see out of the rear view mirror.
Okay.
So he removed the Christmas presents, and the seat was full of knives. There was like 5 or 6 great big knives in there. Can you? Oh, yeah. It was pretty serious. And the officer said, wait a minute. You can't have all those knives like that. And they're going, who are you? What's going on here? He said, I will explain. In fact, officer, I am going to show you. I don't mean to do any danger with those things. And he said, well, how's that? And he said, I'll show you. And he got outside the car and he got his knives. He started juggling them. He was doing a great job. And the officer said, well, I understand. About then, 2 drunks came through, and they were pretty lubricated, to say the least, with that alcohol. And one looked at the other and said, man, I hope we don't get pulled over, because I should never pass that sobriety test. Well,
My brother.
Oh, only
You're
your
a
brother.
mess.
Hey, let's go into this next song. The night before
Alrighty.
Christmas in Texas. Okay?
I'm ready.
Even here in Texas, we have Christmas. Of course, it may be 100 degrees, but we have
That's
Christmas.
right.
We're ready. The night before Christmas.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. All the stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
It was the night before Christmas, down here in Texas. Way out there on the prairie, there wasn't any snow. Asleep in the cabin was Buddy and Sue. They were dreaming of Christmas, just like me and you. There was no stockings, but boots at the foot of their beds, for it was Texas Christmas. You know how that goes, when all of a sudden from out of the night there came such a ruckus. It gave them a fright. Across the prairie and shot like a gun, there was a loaded buckboard, and it was coming on the run. The driver was geeing and hauling. The horses, not reindeer, he drove with such skill. Come on, Buck, Pancho, Prince. There was plenty of traveling tonight. The driver had Levi's, and he had a great white beard and a red shirt, and of course he had that western hat. As he stepped from that buckboard, he was really a sight, with the beard so curly and white. He burst into that cabin, the children awoke, and both were so astonished that neither could speak. As he filled up their boots with presents galore, neither could think of a single thing more. And then little Buddy recovered the use of his jaws, and he whispered, Are you really Santa Claus? Am I Santa Claus? Well, what do you think? As he smiled and he gave him a mysterious wink, he leaped in that backboard and called back with a drawl. To all you folks in Christmas, Merry Christmas, you all.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. All the stockings were hung by the chimney with care. Oh, that's St. Nicholas soon would be there.
Lead in.
Huh?
I don't have a lead in on this.
You don't? Huh.
Not the tree.
Does that mean that you're at a loss for words?
I'm lost for words.
Goodness, I don't think that's ever happened before. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, how lovely are your branches. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree, how lovely are your branches.
Pine tree, I remember you when I saw you years ago. We were trailing cattle up this mountain through the snow. As I rode by, my stirrup boot just barely brushed your top. I was riding drag, so I thought I'd stop. As I looked down on you, and I wondered if I'd ever see a time when you would grow into a genuine Christmas tree. For a dozen years or more, I watched you grow tall, but the drive this fall will be my last to ride down this trail. You know, when a cowboy gets some years on him, some things begin to fail. His eyesight begins to lose, he misses a loop, and by 10 o'clock, he's ready to retire. Now I guess I'm going to ride that chair in the bunkhouse by the fire. But I first thought I'd ride up here and I'd find me a Christmas tree. So I brought my old pack horse and a saw to saw you down. I thought I'd saw you down and pack you back to the ranch house. I figured this would be the last time I'm up at this hill on Chester, my trail horse. You know, as I stare at you, my friend, I'm trying to find the will to cut you down. I look at this saw, and then I look at you. I've decided cutting you down would be very poor on my part. So I'm going to go back down to town there, and there's a stand at the square, and I expect I can find a real nice tree there. Live a good life, my friend. Grow straight and tall, and remember me when the trails trail by this very next fall. You know, we have daughters and granddaughters and great-granddaughters that impacted our lives, not that the male ones didn't. But somehow daughters and fathers have a special relationship. This is one of my favorite pieces because I think of my own daughter, and she's grown and got big girls herself. But I think of my own daughter when we do the Christmas waltz. Sis, we're ready.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops listen and enjoy.
White Christmas was playing. The ranch boss sang soft and mellow. As I waltzed around that tree, I was such a proud fellow. The rugs were rolled back and the chairs set aside. And on top of my boots, 2 tiny feet sure did glide. Around that tree we sure did go, and those bright colored lights, and they spilled out through those frosted windows onto the snow. We continued to dance, and we twirled and we bowed. But I promised myself and my partner out loud, darling, I will never forget these moments so divine, or think it quite silly with the passage of time. For I know, darling, daughter of mine, you're going to grow up and you're going to take wing, and you're going to celebrate your own Christmas in the flurry it brings. But just once in a while, will you stop? Will you take rest? Think of your old dad and how he loved you first and best. And remember our dancing as time slips away, and those long ago waltzes we shared on Christmas Day.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all Christmases be white.
I was going through Mom's junk drawer here after she had passed on, and I sure came across some treasures, things that I didn't even know she had. And I happened on a faded piece of paper that made me stop and pause, because it was a letter from a 6-year-old boy to dear Santa Claus. I wanted you to know, Santa, I've been a real good boy all year. And if you have in your pack, I could sure use some new marbles, a folding knife, and a new lunch pail. But Santa, what I really want, I want to become a buckaroo, a cowboy. I don't know much about being a buckaroo or cowboy, but I am quick to learn. I do know I have to carry my bedroll on the back of my saddle and be ready to use it at any time. The pay isn't great, but be able to ride a horse all day and move cows would sure be a good start, even for a little pay. Also, when I grow up, I sure would like to be like my dad, including having a cowboy wife. Looking forward to Christmas and your visit. There'll be a snack on the kitchen table for you that night. And then I noticed where that kid had signed his name, and to my dismay, the author and the reader of the letter was the same. So as a grown man, I sat down and I wrote Santa Claus a letter. And I thanked him the gift he gave that young boy in 1956 and the life he let me live. Heard a story the other day about a man from way out east. And you know, us Texans are just a little different, so to speak. I'm sure when that man got to southeast Texas, he just didn't know what to think about southeast Texas and the folks, even though they're good people. But quite a different culture. And then, of course, it's Christmas time like now. And the newspaper gave this account. And he drove by the courthouse, and there was a nativity scene out there. And he couldn't quite understand the nativity scene before he stopped at a little restaurant there to get his breakfast, because the three wise men had fireman helmets on. And he thought that was kind of strange, according to the article. So he stopped by the restaurant, and this nice lady came up and said, "May I take your order, sir?" And he gave the order to the lady, and he said, "By the way, ma'am, I'd like to talk to you for just a moment." Said, "I went by your courthouse, nice town you have here, but a nativity scene with fireman helmets on the wise men?" And she got pretty perturbed the way he was questioning that nativity scene, and said, "You need to understand, sir, you need to read your Bible. Us folks in East Texas, we read our Bibles and we follow what the Word says." So she went on to get his breakfast, and he was still confused. And she came back with his breakfast in one hand and the Bible in the other, and put that plate of eggs on the table and said, "Look right here and I'll read it to you." And it says right here in the Bible how we're supposed to set up our nativity scene. It says, the three wise men came from afar. I haven't told that one for a year. I had to.
As my mother said, the sights you see when you don't have your gun. Are you ready? Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. You're not bad on the jingle bells, you know? Everybody should have a skill. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw him, you would even say it close. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, "Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight?" Then how the reindeer loved him as they shouted out, "Rudolph, those reindeer will go down in history."
You did a great job on that one.
Thank you.
And we can't do these things without thinking about Christmas. And
That's true.
even though they're not all spiritual, they don't have to be.
No.
It's supposed to be a joyous time. So, Silent Night.
Do you know the story behind Silent Night?
Tell us about that story behind Silent Night.
There was a pastor, a priest, that lived in Germany and was on his way in a horse-drawn sleigh to his church so that he could preach the midnight mass. And he was just about to the church, and he remembered he didn't bring his music with him. He didn't have his sermon notes. He didn't have any music planned, and there he was. So he had a little bit of time before the service started and went back into his office and thought, okay, I've got to do something different. I need to write a hymn that we can sing. And he wrote Silent Night. And the congregation that night never knew he left his sermon notes at home. They never knew that he didn't have his music with him. He taught them the song, and they sang it together. And I think that's such a beautiful story.
It is. I was thinking of the same words. Beautiful, beautiful story. And it also shows you how the Lord can work when we put it in His hands.
You bet.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're
That
welcome.
is neat.
You're welcome.
All right.
Merry Christmas, Cowboy.
Merry Christmas to you, sister.
Well, here we are. It's time for us to celebrate the start of the new year. And if you're like me, yeah, I make New Year's resolutions, but that's about as far as it goes. So Ken's going to do a piece of poetry that we're going to celebrate New Year's Eve, and then we're going to do another one for you. So here we go.
So we're good. I've made 2 mistakes right in a row. Okay.
That old north wind howling high up in the timber, the only choir I remember. I was riding on a line, one lone star hanging over the horizon, like the one that led the wise men as they followed heaven's sign.
Well, it's New Year's Eve. I'm going to set out to Westchester, my horse. I think I'm going to ride out alone. There's a clear moon and there's a little frost on the ground. I'm going to ride up on that high ridge. through the dark pines and through the snow. Far away, I just want to get away from those lights. And in a short space of time, I'll climb up that hillside to the top. I'm going to face the wind. And there I'm going to just wait for that new year to come in as the hours grow late. And a new year will once begin. Well, take a look at what I've been through and the changes that year has brought. Well, I'm no different than you. There were some good times, and there were some times it wasn't so good. Some happy ones and some sad ones. And as the faces of time fill my thoughts, in the silence of the night, from that small patch of white, I have to say adios to some of my old friends. And with a small prayer at last for the present and the past. And then I'm going to ride down that hill once again to begin that new year.
Drifting along to the sounds of spurs a-jingling, like Christmas bells a-ringing, Christmas on the line.
Holding Ice Cube. You can't find Ice Cube anymore.
I have to meditate on that one a little.
You meditate.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot in days of old lang syne?
You know, changing the past. How many times have each of us said, if I could only change the past? But you know, the past is for a reason. That's where it's supposed to stay. But some cannot let it go. It's in their heads and it just seems to eat away until all their focus becomes the person I used to be. The mistakes we made in life, and if they could only see, they cannot change what has happened, no matter how hard we try, no matter how much we think about it, nor how much we try. What happens in your and my lifetime happens for a reason, unknown. So you have to let the cards unfold and let your story be shown. Don't get wrapped up in the negative. Be happy with what you've been given. Live for today and not tomorrow. Get up, get out, and start living. Because the past is the past for a reason. It's been, and now it's gone. So stop trying to think of ways to fix it. It's done. It's unchangeable. Let's move on. We've traveled through 3 seasons here in this short period of time. We sure hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed presenting it to you. But before we totally close, we want to recognize some of you folks out there. And that's the folks that have served our country. You gave your time and your effort and sometimes your health. And then we've had friends and loved ones that have given their lives. And we couldn't have this hour of freedom without their sacrifices. So again, for you, your spouse, brothers and sisters, moms or dads, thank you so much for that. And in closing our show, on behalf of Sister and I, we want to thank the good Lord for giving us the opportunity to serve in this capacity. We've been so blessed in doing these shows these last 5 years, and we enjoy them very much, and we hope we brought you just a little happiness. And in the most appropriate way of closing out the show, there's no better way on our part than to say, happy trails and God bless you. Just last week, I had the opportunity to trade you off for a coonhound, and I turned it down.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That makes me feel needed.
Yeah, of course, it was three-legged, so it wasn't much counted.
Mom, can you hear that?
Well, we sure hope that you enjoyed the video today and it serves the purpose it's meant. We're so blessed that we can do this, and we always give the good Lord credit for allowing us to do this for folks, and we want you to enjoy it. We want to wish you especially a happy holiday. And we've gone through a lot in this last 6, 8, 9 months, but we got to look to the future, and we've got to stay positive and try to stay as healthy as possibly we can. But that doesn't mean we can't enjoy the little things in life. And as a result of all this, I'm hoping that we can appreciate the blessings that we have. Sis,
absolutely.
You got anything to...
Yeah, thank you so much for watching the video and listening to us go back and forth. We truly appreciate your time and hope that you've enjoyed it and that you enjoy sharing it with your people. So, again, thank you so much and have a blessed day.
And on behalf of Stick Horse Memories, happy trails and blessings to each of you.
Bye now.
That old north wind howling high up in the timber, the only choir I remember. I was riding on a line, one lone star hanging over the horizon, like the one that led the wise men.